Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Give me back my light. Thank you very much, Artful Dodger. Well, his name's Jack. If you don't already know, this is a series that acts as a sort of sequel to Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, without the Oliver. This is from 2023. It's so far one season. How many episodes so far? 8 episodes. 8 episodes. Yes, it's one of those kind of short season type of series that, like network TV tends to be like 22, 24 episodes, well, when these cable type shows, cable streaming shows, is very much about 8 episodes, 10 episodes, maybe 13 at most, but this is 8 episodes. It is an Australian-made film. It's made in Australia. It takes place in Australia as well. Even though I imagine most of the stuff is on sets, there's lots of exteriors, but it's a small town in Australia, and it takes place in the 1850s. Number of years after the events of Oliver Twist. At first, I was like, he seems really young. I realized that the Artful Dodger was fairly young in the story, but kind of a mentor type to Oliver in a sense, the pickpocket extraordinaire at a young age, under the control of Fagin. Well, here he is in Australia. What? He's not in London anymore. What's he doing there? He's a doctor. Why? How? Well, that's what the first episode begins to explore. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because there are a number of kind of big surprises in this, if you know the tale, the original tale. And it's difficult because there's it's difficult because to give you a cast list here, I can't tell you who they play. Thomas Brodie-Sangster. You might recognize him from Maze Runner, and he was in a bunch of other things. He even had a small, tiny part in one of the Star Wars films. He played an Imperial officer, but it doesn't really matter. He looks so young. To me, he looks so young. He looks like he's barely 21, but he's probably like 35 for all I know. He's 40. I don't know. But in 1990, okay, that's 34. So he's 34. And so he made this a year or two ago. And by the way, this is not only just on Disney Plus, it's also on Hulu, in case somebody has Hulu but doesn't have Disney Plus for some reason. You'll probably get commercials if you watch it on Hulu, not on Disney Plus if you have the free version. Either way, he is a doctor, and it's in an era in which surgeries are almost a form of entertainment. Not almost, it's very much a form of entertainment. There's a viewing theater where men come in to yell and drink and bet on whether the doctor is going to save the patient's life. How fast is he going to do certain procedures? In the first few moments, I'm going to tell you this. In the first few moments, when we first see Jack, he is gambling, and he should be it's not a hospital. He's technically not allowed at the hospital, from what I understand. It's complicated. But I think it's at a school, and the guy's brought in, his leg is really busted up. If you are squeamish at all about blood and a little bit of gore, yeah, this might not be for you. It is fairly graphic in its depiction, and not in a grotesque way, but it's in a medical way. The camera does not flinch. It doesn't cut away when the blood starts spurting, and the legs, like the one guy we see has a really messed up leg, and he has to amputate. And can he do it in less time than the other doctor? On the floor there, they flip a coin to see who gets to do the surgery, and can he do it in less time? And they do it for tips. It's literally a performance. They throw a hat, they pass a hat around and hope that these guys are gonna give them money. Well, he's got some debts to pay due to his gambling issues, but Jack also has kind of a history with being a criminal. So he makes more enemies than friends in a lot of cases, and you have to wonder at times whether he has good intentions, and if he does, why is he that way? And that's what this show is meant to explore. How is he different after the events of Oliver Twist, and what has happened to him since that has expanded his world? Along the way, there is another person who comes into his life, played by Daniel Thewlis. You know him as Professor Lupin from the Harry Potter films. He's fantastic. He's an older gentleman, and I won't tell you who he is in relation to Jack. They know each other, but I will not tell you who it is. You might be able to guess, but if you read the book, then you kind of wonder, how is this possible? So there's also, what's her name? Maya Mitchell. You might recognize her as from watching the Teen Beach movies. She's Mac from the Teen Beach movies. She can sing and dance, but here she's a young woman who is very much wants to be a surgeon. She wants to be a doctor, and women just aren't that in this society. Not in the 1850s. They're meant to marry off, and in fact, her younger sister can't marry off until she marries off. It's the whole society tradition thing, and women exist just to be married off to whatever man will pay the price to court her and to gain either land or prestige. She's the daughter of the governor of that area in Australia, and but she wants to have nothing to do with the life of the debutante, in a sense, whereas her sister's all in on that. She's very much focused on wanting to be a surgeon. How can she even think of doing that? She's a girl who reads and even has progressive ideas on how to perform surgeries. The stuff that even Jack isn't even willing to consider. Well, this whole first episode, I only watched the first episode, is very much you're learning the connections between each of these characters as they were, as they currently are, whether they realize it or not, and what the potential is for the future. And it's both dramatic, it's got a bit of action to it, and it's funny. It's genuinely funny. The cast is fantastic. Damon Harriman plays Captain Lucien. He is kind of the top cop in that area, and he just loves to hang people. You may not know the name Damon Harriman, but seriously, you've seen him. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's been all over the place. He is one of the most consistent character actors. If you've seen a lot of pretty fantastic dramas over the years, he's been shows up in them. So he's somebody to watch in this. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything else, but I actually highly recommend it. In fact, I'm going to do something that I rarely do. I'm going to add this to my playlist, even though I have no time to watch anything extra than I'm already watching. I have so many things I'm watching, and half of the stuff isn't even on Disney+. So yeah, but I'm adding it because I want to see where this goes. Even if it's already canceled, who knows? I really hope it's not, because I think this has the potential to have some interesting stories and see some character development from a kind of scoundrel hero. I can't say he's a Han Solo type or anything else, but he has his own way of doing things. He gets himself into a lot of trouble, but I think he has good intentions. I think he could be fooling even me. He's the Artful Dodger. So like I said, I recommend this. It's something that I wasn't really sure would be something. You get these period dramas, or everybody's wearing ruffles, and yeah, maybe a lot of people love Bridgerton and stuff like that. That's great. It can be fun and sexy and all that other stuff, and that's great. And there's a little bit of sexy in this too. I mean, Maya's not hard to look at, and I'm sure he's not hard to look at either. And if you look at the thumbnail for this series, you can tell that they're kind of gonna be romantic, or they're destined to be romantic at some point. So, so it's the kind of thing, when you make a story like this, you kind of got to have a little bit of romance for the people who love that kind of thing. Again, I'm limited. I'm still doing 10 minutes on this, but I'm limited in telling you anything more. But once you see the first episode, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you do have an appreciation, if you think it's a travesty that they would even think of doing an Artful Dodger series based on Charles Dickens' work, if you're a total Dickens head, I said that. If you're like a total obsessed Dickens fan and you're thinking this is just blasphemy, well, yeah, you're not going to like it. But you know what? It's not trying to create a 15-season over-bloated Oliver Twist saga. You know, they're not Peter Jacksoning The Hobbit here. It's telling a new story with characters some of us might be familiar with. And if you're not familiar with these characters, read Oliver Twist. There's plenty of cartoons and shorts and various tellings of this, just like, Christmas Carol and everything else. It's worth checking out. And then follow it up with this it's for mature audiences. This is not a kid's show, just so you're very much aware. It's suggestive at times. It's a bit gory, and definitely not this is something I would not have expected to see on Disney Plus. This is more of a Hulu thing, but it's not so egregious that it would only freak little kids out due to the gore, the blood. They might find it fascinating. I have no idea, but seriously, this is more for the adults in the room. Just so you know. Let's pick tomorrow's episode. 33. Going low. 33. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking about this. I'm so surprised that I haven't had this thing picked for me already. And it's very popular among kids and adults alike, but for somewhat different reasons. I am going to watch the very first episode of this, and I'm going to watch the most controversial episode that was just added to Disney Plus. People have been making noise about it these past few days, that it's just been added. One of the most controversial episodes of Bluey. Yeah, I know. Controversial Bluey episode. So yeah, it's a thing. So yeah, I've never watched Bluey. I know plenty of parents who have had kids who just love this show, and then sometimes this show kind of wrecks people, but for all the good reasons. So Bluey is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.